So now that Jeremy has shown some of the tools that you can use, I wanted to get a little bit more. There's a few things to the right that Jeremy had left, and I was going to cover those. And also, there's a menu at the top that I'm going to cover as well with some things that you can add in. As you can see my screen right here, I have one that I was working on, the elementary story mapping. So you could this right here is what I've got pulled up. So like this is one that I was already working on. And I think that one of the really cool things about Figjam as well is that you can pull from the various templates that they have, and then you can edit and change those to whatever you like. So, for example, like if you wanted to start a brand new board, you could do that. And all I did with this one here was this was a template that I grabbed. So, like if you click in this area here, you're going to get even more options for things that you can do. And I want to talk about a few of these things that are available. And so the first would be the templates. And so right away you can see like in my recents, I have that template that I used for the story mapping. And I didn't really change a whole lot on here. I basically went with what they constructed in this main area, and I added in these two sections here. And so I just kind of grabbed the template, and then it pulls it right in for you. And then, like I said, you can change things. So you can move the whole thing to wherever you want. You can resize it. You can also turn it if you would like as well. Um, that's one thing that I noticed about this right away, in comparison to things like Canva, if you're familiar with that. Canva has kind of a very, it's like a ready, um, one of those rotation tools, and it's usually found like up at the top. So one thing that's a little bit different about this is you have this rotator tool, so you can either pinch it or expand it, or if you go a little bit outside the box, that's going to be where you can turn things inside. So just something to be aware of. You can do it with individual items or the whole structure that you're working with. Um, and then so just with this template here, like I said, I had added in these two. So some of the things that Jeremy was talking about, where, what if I want to just add something new? Like I pull in a square here and I can put it off to the side, add in a text box here if I want to. Or like what I did with this part was this was a section. So as you can see, I just made a section and I put in problem and solution. So that would just be in regard to this lesson. We're looking at like a story. So you have your story arc, you have the setting, character, or character details, lessons learned, and then I just put problem and solution as an added thing over here. But there's a ton you could explore here. This is just one that I had been working with. But you could, certainly, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, depending on your content area or the things that you're wanting students to work on, or even if you're just doing something for yourself that you want to organize some thoughts into, they have a whole bunch of things that are in here. So they've got like a recommended section, which you can expand, things for meetings, which, like for like Jeremy and my position, that's something that we frequently have meetings. So, honestly, it's a good like brainstorming area for if you're working with your team, or, like if you're at school and you have a PLC or something like that, use a Figjam. This would be something that you could do as well. Some
And I think
diagram.
maybe you'll touch on it too, but isn't there within the share features is the ability to share to a Google Meet?
Yes. Yep. You can. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and then you'd be able to collaborate on that. Um, if you go a little further down, there's some diagramming templates here, planning, brainstorming. So as you can see, there's no lack of things that you could explore and use that are at your disposal. So a lot of great stuff on here. This one just made sense for me because of the nature of what I wanted to show. And that was, kind of a elementary style example where you could have students complete this for their project. Before I move into sharing it to students, I wanted to just kind of cover some other things that are in here. So the templates are there; you can pull them in. Stickers, which I know Jeremy covered a little bit, but you can, pull in stickers to put on different items. You could basically grab, see this, and put this into here if you want, or let me see if I can zoom in.
That's definitely, I've found one of the harder things to kind of remind yourself to do is to zoom in if you want to be able to see things a little bit better. But once you kind of get the hang of that, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's a really good point. That's something that I think you will do a lot because when you have stuff like this, you're wanting to work on certain little sections, and so you're going to be zooming in and out because one thing that you don't want to do is be trying to like edit the text on this from way out,
Yeah,
in
exactly.
space. So that's just you're making it harder on yourself. So we want to work smarter, not harder. So
Yeah, and
um,
I noticed you like to use the plus minus buttons down in the corner, which also zoom. And I did more of like with my trackpad, the
yeah,
the
yep,
scroll with my fingers. But
sure. Yep, yep. Either way is good. Just don't make it painful on yourself, and try to make it easy. Um, so, and I think too, it's like you have such a large space, you could really add a bunch of different things on here, and then you know you're going to be maybe working on one section and then leaving another section alone, depending on because you could. I mean, it's a blank canvas, so it's pretty limitless in what you can do.
right. And
Um,
then with the ability to hide things, I mean, if you could really be
yes.
working in a
Yep.
totally separate area while your kids are doing something else on there and then lead them over to that section later on just by dragging stuff over.
Yeah. And I don't know if I can do it this way. I think I know, like, if I do it like this, I can just hide sections like that,
Mhm.
which I did not see that available here.
No, I think you can hide sections. I don't think you can hide your whole
Right.
presentation.
Yeah. So if you're highlighting a large section, looks like it's unavailable, but it's pretty clear when you're in, individual space. You can just click the eye icon and it will hide that so that it's not distracting you in what you're trying to accomplish with another section or something.
Yep.
Um, Okay, and then you've got a few other things. So the widgets are in here. This I think would be very helpful in terms of what you want to do with, say, students. One of the things that I found interesting was stuff like this, where you have your flip a coin or dice that you could pull in and have it in here. So you roll the dice. All you do is click it and roll the dice. Um, there's a whole bunch of things in here that you could use, some that are more oriented towards professional tasks, but there's definitely things in here as well that you can do with students, like a calendar. I know this is one where we have, like, the ELC schools that I work with, we have where they do calendars all the time, and they'll put like little icons on here for the weather for that day and have the students help out with that and stuff like that. So definitely some cool options within the widgets. We'll just pull these off here real quick. And um, then you get into the plugins, which this is an area where I think you almost just have to explore yourself. But the best way to describe these is that things that can be added to your space that will enhance it in a particular way. So it's like, um, you know, like any program, if you add a plugin, it's going to give you an added benefit or feature that you could utilize within the Figjam space. And again, something that you should definitely look at and test out, see what maybe would be of interest to you, because there's a whole series of things in here that you have kind of a limitless selection in this area as well. So I just wanted to point out where some of those are. So Jeremy covered all of this stuff here in this area, and then over here is where you've got the different um, added items. And I think templates is probably the one that I find to be the most important because that's a huge time saver, and you've already got some structures available to you with the templates, and then you can just change and swap out whatever you don't like. And I think that that's really helpful for just getting started and not having to create from scratch. And I think too, a lot of them are already very visually appealing, and they have good structure to them. Like the story arc one that I've got here, I think is really nice. And then, like I said, just add in the things that you want if there's something missing. And this is a huge area, I think, that you just have to spend some time exploring. So um, then outside of that, what else we have is in the top right, you have a couple different things. One of the main things that I'm going to cover is this little area here, the timer, the music, and voting, and then the share option as well. So this right here does allow you to play music for one. So if you want to have some music playing during your session, you can do that. You can also set a timer for how long students would be working on something and start that timer, right? And then they would be able to just see that have 20 minutes to work on something. Some cool little features that you can add in here for work time. And then they do have the voting option as well. The only thing about that is that you have to have the professional. So you would have to pay for the upgrade, whereas this version here is what we are offered through the educator program. So this voting feature would have to be an upgrade. Not terrible price at all. So if it's something that you feel you're going to use very consistently, maybe worth it to you. Um, and uh, and that's some of the items
You
that are
could
here.
vote with a sticker too. You could vote or a stamp, right? You could vote with a thumbs up, by how many thumbs up a certain,
Yeah.
thing on your board got
Yep.
would be your votes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you could do, like this if you had a bunch of them. I think this is what you did too, kind
Yeah.
of, that could be a form of voting. So yeah, there's definitely workarounds if you don't want to pay for it and you want to be creative with how you might do that. Um, and then the last thing that I want to show is the share option. So the share option is where we can take and go into sharing it within something like Google Classroom. So you click the share button at the top right, and then you're able to connect to your Google Classroom, and then we'll do make a copy for each student in this case because they would probably be working in their own space. And you can still, if you would like to, you can create a space and have students work on it simultaneously. Just kind of depends on what your end goal is because maybe you don't want them messing with your individual file. But it's a very good thing to point out because you might have where like you intended to give them their own copy, but make sure that you change the permissions because you might find that you've created something and then all of a sudden your original copy is all out of whack because the student started working with it. So just make sure your permissions are set. Um, if we're sharing it to something like Google Classroom, this is going to be the logical thing that you're doing because you're having them work on it on their own. So we'll change it to that. You click next, and then what it'll do is it will pull up this little window, and it will ask you what class you want to make that a part of. So we'll put this in our fourth grade class. We will make it an assignment and click go, and then we can put in story mapping, and we'll just do assign. Okay, and then we'll click view, and it'll pull it up in our class right here. Okay, and I had one in there already. And what I want to show you is from the student side, this would be like your student is logged in, right? So they're fourth grade class. they'll click on their class and then go to their classwork, and here is their assignment. So if they click on it, it's going to open up for them the Figjam. But so here's the thing. So we want to have, and it's not going to let me do this, just the nature of my domain here, but you'll want to have them sign in so that you can associate their account with the work that they're doing. Otherwise, what you're going to get is this anonymous. And the reason why you should have them sign in is because as they're working, if you recall when we did our with here, when we shared and we did like our option, whatever they're doing, right? They're going to be editing it with this part of it. So they'll be doing their edits and it will be logged in. And then what that will allow you to do is as they make their edits, you can actually change over to and see the list of the students. It'll have their name here, and then you can click on it, and it will show you what they're doing within that space. It's kind of like you can see here, it's like a little video. It'll show you what they're doing within that space. And you can, this is where too, you could, drop a comment in, or you could put a stamp in like, oh, hey, I'm not sure what you're doing with this section here. Maybe you add in a little text or something like that, and you could respond to their work that they're doing. So okay, so as they're working, again, you can view their work, and by just selecting it here and see what they're doing, and then again you got like your timer and all that type of stuff. So there's a lot of cool things you can do within the program, and get this out to your students so that they can be working in a digital space with all the different templates and things that are available to them. So